Hello and welcome to another episode of Masala History. This is the Indian Independence Week. Many of you pinged me for the last couple of weeks asking me to do a piece around this theme of Independence Day. While there are many independence histories that can be told, and hopefully I can have the opportunity to do them, today I choose to talk about one that is relatively lesser known. I had myself stumbled upon this accidentally and had not heard of this before. I hope you enjoy this history as much as I did researching about this. And with that, let's dig in.
Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes.
On August 15th, 1947, India made its tryst with destiny. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was sworn in as the first Prime Minister of Free India in Red Fort by Lord Mountbatten, the Governor General then.
At the stroke of the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to life and freedom.
15 more ministers took oath with Shri Vallabhbhai Patel as the Deputy Prime Minister. Wait, why did I stress that Pandit Nehru took oath as the first Prime Minister of Free India? What is the significance of the word free here? Were there other prime ministers before? The natural answer to this question is yes. After all, you are listening to Masala History and you're not in a history class with a textbook that is influenced by politics. So were there prime ministers before August 15th, 1947? And if so, were they legitimately recognized? That is our quest for the day. The first great Indian election happened in the year 1945, the provincial elections in 1946, and the Viceroy Council was formed afterward, with the Viceroy being the president of that executive council. Though initially it boycotted, the Muslim League and the All India Congress came together to be part of the council. This constituted India's interim government. The vice president of this council had the powers of a prime minister, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was the VP of that exec council. The other department heads were Liaquat Ali Khan for finance, Patel for home, information and broadcasting, Rajagopalachari for education, Rajendra Prasad for agriculture, etc. And even though it was an interim government of India, the title Prime Minister was not officially given, even though the status was given to Pandit Nehru. So the answer to our question cannot be Pandit Nehru again. Okay. By now, all the hardcore fans of Netaji Subash Chandra Bose are already yelling on the top of your voice. Yes, Mr. Bose did set up a provisional government of India, Arzi Hukumat-e-Azad Hind. This was recognized by all the Axis powers, Italy, Germany and Japan, their satellites, along with Burma, Thailand and Ireland. The flag of this government was a tricolor with chakra in the middle. Subash Chandra Bose was the head of state and also the Prime Minister, Minister of War and Minister of Foreign Affairs. Rash Bihari Bose was the Supreme Advisor, and Lieutenant Colonel A.C. Chatterjee and N. Raghavan were finance ministers. It is impossible not to note the pan-India inclusive ideals of Azad Hind using known symbols from across the country like the chakra, Tipu's tiger, using both North and South Indian languages for communication, even having a woman minister on the cabinet focused on women affairs, etc. However, Mr. Bose's Azad Hind was not the first provisional government of India either. The credit for establishing that, which was formerly known as Hukumat-e-Mukta-e-Hind, goes to Raja Mahendra Pratap Singh, the hero of our today's story. This provisional government was established in Kabul on 1st December 1915. Mahendra Pratap Singh was a prince of the native state of Hathras and was an alum of the Aligarh Muslim University. Even today, in the AMU library, you could find a portrait of Mahendra Pratap Singh in one of the larger walls.
नन्ना मुन्ना राही हूँ देश का सिपाही हूँ बोलो मेरे संग जय हिंद जय हिंद जय हिंद जय हिंद जय हिंद.
Raja Mahendra Pratap Singh was a patriot from early childhood and participated in many campaigns, including the one by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi in South Africa. When he was just 29, the Raja was tired of the pace of the independence struggle and was willing to travel as far as Germany and Japan to seek assistance in destroying the British. In Kabul, on 1st December 1915, he established the first provisional government of India and made himself as the president of this government. Other members of the cabinet included Muhammad Barkatullah of the Ghadar party as vice president, Ubaid al-Sindhi as minister for India, Maulvi Bashir as war minister, and Champakaran Pillai as the foreign minister. Those of you who are able to see a picture along with this podcast, you are seeing the picture of the cabinet. The main purpose of this provisional government was to enroll support from the Emir of Afghanistan, the Tsar of Russia, Nicholas Romanov, the German Empire, the Ottomans, and Imperial Japan for the Indian freedom struggle. Mahendra Pratap Singh travelled far and wide for enlisting support for India's freedom. In Afghanistan, he negotiated the support of the anti-British sections of the Afghan elite, who helped in recruiting an Afridi tribe-based force that hoped to attack British India from the northwest. When he realized that the German intelligence may be interested in supporting his ask, Mahendra Pratap went and met with the German Kaiser Wilhelm II in Berlin, where the Kaiser decorated him with the Order of the Red Eagle. Mahendra Pratap also travelled to Istanbul to connect with the Ottomans, and he met with Enver Pasha, the Sultan's son-in-law and the defense minister. In Russia, in Moscow, he not only met the Tsarist administration but also had the foresight to have discussions with the Bolshevik leaders Leon Trotsky and later with Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. Lenin in particular was very impressed with Pratap's revolutionary zeal and ideas. By 1919, however, the Great War had moved in the favor of the British Empire and their allies. There was also severe resistance from the pro-British Afghan faction, and with all this support, British diplomacy succeeded in shutting down Mahendra Pratap's provisional government. While Mahendra Pratap's government could not create a marked dent with Britain and the struggle, their overall approach can be considered to be the strategic predecessor of what Mr. Subash Chandra Bose attempted later. Raja Mahendra Pratap was invited to USSR after Lenin became the supreme leader of the Soviet. During this time, the British India government was tired of the pain that he could cause due to his smart international diplomacy, and so convicted him in courts, confiscated his estates, and put a bounty on his head and declared him to be a fugitive. Realizing that if he came back to India, he would face a prison time for life, Mahendra Pratap Singh escaped to Japan in 1925, and from there he would continue multiple efforts to push for India's freedom. A sincere believer in universal fraternity and an ardent follower of Gandhi, he addressed himself as a servant of mankind. Raja Mahendra Pratap founded the World Federation Center in Tokyo and strove for Happiness Society. In 1932, Mahendra Pratap Singh was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize for giving away all his wealth for educational purposes, going on missions globally to ensure visibility of the British brutalities, for working towards economic upliftment of India, and for taking part in campaigns from South Africa to Tibet. In 1932, no individual was actually awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. In 1948, Gandhi was nominated for Nobel Peace Prize the fifth time, but was assassinated before the winners were announced, and coincidentally, no one was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1948 either. Pandit Nehru, who met Mahendra Pratap Singh in Switzerland, had written the following about him. He is a darned quixote who had strayed into the 20th century, and he was absolutely straight and thoroughly honest. Sadly, Mahendra Pratap Singh and his contributions are forgotten today beyond a 30 paisa stamp that was released in 1979 upon his death. Stay back for a small tale piece.
आशिकों ने किया देख लेना उसे हम बयान लाएंगे ऐ वतन हमको तेरी कसम तेरी राहों में जहाँ तक लुटा जाएंगे ऐ वतन
Although he settled in Japan in the 1940s, Mahendra Pratap Singh could never bring himself to accept Japan's imperialist arrogance and hence stayed away from Azad Hind that actually took the help of Japan. The British India government finally relented and in 1946 allowed him to return back to India with respect. When the ship City of Paris docked at the Madras port on 9th August 1946, Mahendra Pratap set foot in his homeland once again. It had been 32 long years of exile. His first immediate stop upon disembarking was to Wardha to pay a visit to Mahatma Gandhi. After August 15, 1947, Mahendra Pratap continued to push for more power for the common man. In 1957, he contested Lok Sabha elections as an independent candidate from the constituency of Mathura. He won with a thumping majority, beating his nearest rival from the Bharatiya Jana Sangh, a former avatar of the present-day BJP. Interestingly, the man he bet in the 1957 Lok Sabha elections would eventually go on to become a Prime Minister of India one day. His name, Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Hope you learned something new today and had fun while learning. That's all for today. Please send in your feedback and comments as always. Happy Independence Day wishes, and we'll talk to you soon with yet another interesting history. Bye-bye.